Hello and welcome to the Sassy CEO podcast. I'm your host, Paula Bailey, and we're back with part 2 of the Sassy CEO strategic planning series. In this episode, I want to talk to you all about your Sassy CEO Revenue Roadmap. So really helping you to set some targets and get some clarity around what you want those to be. And from that, how you can take that to then create some more intentional priorities so that you're focusing on things that are actually getting you to where you want. Now, this episode and the episode before it is really designed if you've ever felt overwhelmed, who hasn't in business, but if you feel like you are constantly working, you're pushing, you've never got the opportunity to really switch off, you've got this long list of things, but you just feel like you're wading mud all the time and you're just not getting where you want to get in business. It's time to get clear. It's time to start asking yourself some better or higher frequency questions around your business. And this is what this series is all about. So I've decided to give you also a free gift. In this episode, I talk about the revenue roadmap template document. And rather than have you sort of try and imagine what that is, I'm a visual person. I wanted to actually gift that from me to you as a New Year's present. So please head over to sassyceo.com.au/gift and download your copy. If by some chance you are listening to this episode and it's not January, maybe it's much later in the year 2020, please don't discredit the information in this episode. I've designed this so that you could do this any time of the year. Obviously, the new year is always a fresh time. It's a time where everyone wants to be doing stuff like this. But if you're catching this later on in the year, you're only just getting back into work, please take the time to go through what I've got for you, because I'm really dedicated to wanting you to have the most magic year in life and in business. And I do go through some really key things that I've developed very specifically to help you do just that. So without any further ado, let's get into the episode on your revenue roadmap. It's that special time of the year, the start of a very new, fresh year. And not only that, we are looking at the start of a very new decade, a whole decade to look at, a whole new year to begin laying the foundations for an awesome decade for you. And this is the time where all of us start to think about the plan, start to think about our goals. What are we going to do for the year and beyond? And so it's inevitable that the planning conversation comes up. And as you know, if you've been following me for a while, I'm the planning queen. I love setting up strategic plans in businesses. I've done thousands and thousands and thousands of plans, and they're super fun to do, but there's some fundamental areas that I think are really important to remember. And I wanted to bring those to you in this podcast. So this is part 2 of the series. I just wanted to remind you that if you are happening to find me on this episode and you haven't taken in the previous episode, I really do recommend that you go back there, because in that episode, we really did begin to lay the foundations for you developing a really robust strategic plan. Now, it's in that episode, just so you know, what we did was we went over an opportunity for you to review and reflect, really, really important. And I go through that in the episode as to why that's so important for you. We also looked at your values as a business owner. And if you want to skip over that part, you sort of think, oh, that's not important, PB. Stop right there, back up, lean into the thing that you are most resisting. It is actually really important. I'm really sick and tired of seeing people come to me burnt out, exhausted, and getting this whole equation basically the wrong way round, thinking that, when I insert financial goal, when I get this many clients, when I have this much profit, I will be happy. I will spend time with my children. I will take a holiday. I will make sure I'm looking after my health. Insert whatever excuse you've been making for not doing the other things that actually create you, that create the happy human being that you are. And basically, studies show that you're 80% more likely to be successful if you're happy already. So it's really important at this time of the year, I think, to look at your values and to take stock of what you are currently feeling is important to you, and using that to ensure that as you're planning for your business and planning for the activities, the way that you're going to do business, perhaps the marketplaces, the offers that you're going to make, that they really are in alignment with you as a human, but they also support your goals beyond what you're doing in business. It's really, really important. So we also went through the mission of your business. It's, a key part of what I do in a lot of strategic planning meetings. So the mission of your business, why you're here, what's the mission for the next 5 years. And there's some really secret source stuff in the process of creating your mission that can have a knock-on effect in lots of areas of your business, areas like sales, areas like the types of clients that you're going to attract, also areas like the types of people that you're going to attract who want to come and work with you, the culture that you're going to create. And it doesn't matter if you're not planning on having like this huge team, ultimately you're not going to get where you want to get doing everything on your own. That's not a business. That's just a really shitty job. So being able to really be clear on what it is that you're building and having clarity on that vision as a leader is so important from the very beginning, so that you can also then start to attract the right types of people to come and help you so that they can roll in their jam, you can sit in your genius, and everything can move a lot faster. So there really is a lot of gems in that first episode. I really do encourage, if you've not listened to it, hit pause, go over there and take a listen to that. But if you have, welcome. Let's keep going, because I've got some juicy stuff to talk to you about today in terms of setting up a revenue roadmap for your business. But before we get there, I really want to touch back on these values. And you're probably thinking, PB, you're harping on the values again. I did it. I know what I value. I'm so proud of you if you did actually take the time to do that. Most people will ignore me and just go, yeah, I'm just going to go set up how much money I want to make or what the goals are. I did it for years. I know, I'm speaking from experience. It's so easy to do that. Yeah, I'll worry about, when I'm going to take that time off, or how am I going to spend time with my mum and dad or my husband or my child, and that it'll just automatically fit in. But things don't just automatically fit in, and actually, unless you actually intentionally set it up that way. Or for me, a big one was I'll exercise more when I've got the space, because I have it all worked out, and then I can justify taking time. But it just does not work like that. So what I wanted to do before we go through your revenue roadmap today is to actually just have a chat to you about what I've been doing with those values in my own planning. I want to sort of show you behind the scenes, I guess, of my own intention setting and personal mapping. And all that is super important, because as a leader in my business, that's the stuff that supports then what we do as a team. It supports the planning going forward. So I didn't want to skip over this. I felt like it was a really worthwhile couple of steps that I wanted to share with you. And I really encourage you to go off and use the goals and the values that you set, or the values, I should say, that you set yourself in the last episode, and just go through this process to help yourself just really bring it to life. Because when you do that, the rest of these steps are going to flow so much better, and it's just going to feel a lot better for you, because you're finally starting to pay attention to the most important product in this business, you. So what I did a few days ago, as I was setting my intentions for 2020, is obviously provide space for myself to do that. And I have to do that away from everyone else. So I set that up very specifically: quiet house, no family, no kids, no interruptions, phone on flight mode, cool music. I had my oils burning. Went for lots of walks, really just took in where I wanted to go and what I was thinking of creating. And I basically did exactly what I asked you to do last week, which is really focused on what are the key areas of my life that I value at the moment. And I came up with those values, and I let those sit for a few hours, a few moments, went for another walk. I did this over about a day and a half. And then I came back to that just to make sure that they still sat well, and those are definitely the things that I want to value in the next 2020. And this is intentionally creating your identity. Okay, so if you're not reading between the lines, I'm going to put it really bluntly. You intentionally creating your identity, intentionally creating who you are, is how you intentionally create what you're going to move forward. You intentionally create, because you are ultimately the creator of what's going on here. So by intentionally creating based on what makes me happy. You can see how this is, basically the recipe for success. So from there, I basically went through a series of questions that in NLP, we call them a well-formed outcome. And they're just a series of questions that are designed to help you really bring to life an intention that you've got. So, if I've got an intention for my health, it really helped me bring to life, or what did I mean by focusing on my health? Specifically, what did that mean? What would I be seeing? What was the evidence that my subconscious mind would be seeing that I could know, yes, I'm ticking off that goal. I can give myself a 10 out of 10 there, or a 9 out of 10, and be happy with those efforts. And so I went through those questions for each and every value. And from that, I was able to then start to see, well, I can ask myself based on these questions, who am I when I'm doing these things? Like, what type of woman am I? And you can literally break down for each goal that you've got. So if it's a health goal, or it's a spirituality goal, or it's a financial goal, you can just isolate yourself within that goal for yourself and think, okay, if I am achieving all those things that I've said that I'm wanting to achieve by answering all those questions, what are the sorts of behaviors that I would be exhibiting daily to actually get this outcome? Because here's a hot tip. It doesn't just happen. I see so many people right now who are really going in with this epiphany mindset, like everything's going to change just because it happens to be 2020, that it's, some magic pill that's just going to change everything. And I think everyone at some stage in their life has turned up to a new year like that, thinking it's all going to change just because it's a fresh year. But the only thing that needs to change is you. If you're not loving the current circumstances of your business, of your life, you have control over who you're being. And that's the key point here. It's being intentional about how you're showing up to change the outcomes that you're getting. And so from this, I can ask myself, well, who am I? Who am I being to elicit, X results? And from that, I set myself very small but achievable, still stretching me, but when I say achievable, it's consistency. It's asking myself to be consistent. So if I'm, achieving some of my health goals, I've been doing 75 hard. I've just jumped out of having a very, very cold shower. It's one of the things in phase 1 of 75 hard, one of my most favorite things that I've done for myself in a very long time. I learned so much about myself and about consistency by doing that, because I had to turn up and I still do things every single day. Things that I used to think I didn't have time for. I used to think I would only have time for those things after I got all my work done. But the thing is, when I flipped that and I realized that I did not have time to spend, I couldn't afford to not spend that time on myself, because ultimately that's making me who I am. And everything changes when you are coming from that angle. So, if you were setting yourself basically your tasks, say for a health goal, depending on what that means for you. So for example, for me, it's ensuring that I continue my 2 walks a day for this quarter, ensuring that I'm, eating whole foods that make me feel good intuitively. And I've set myself those little, habits to set up, because I know when I do those habits consistently, I'm being the woman that leads up into that woman that has those things that I've said that I want to achieve and that I want to be. And that's how it all basically works. So that is why I wanted to just spend 10 minutes going through this with you, so that you can have the opportunity to do the same. So if you are a legend and you have actually gone through and worked out what your values are, I would really love you to take those next steps. So really think about what those values mean for you. Like, ask yourself the question, if I was giving myself a 10 out of 10 in that value, what would I be doing every day? What would I be seeing? What would I be feeling? How would I be behaving? What would I need? Do I need resources, or do I have all the resources? Is it just me deciding? Those are some really cool questions. I might actually put the questions for the well-formed outcomes in the notes for this show, just to help you if you want to do that activity. But I highly recommend that. And from there, then you can set up your actual tasks or habits or things that you want to do, tick off for the quarter, just for the next quarter, so that you can then come back at the end of the quarter and see how you went. I'm actually going to be just gently giving myself a score. I use something like the Wheel of Life. So it's almost like a pie chart, and all my values are in there. And I just mark how I think I'm doing so that I can actually track how I'm going. Because if you don't measure something, you just don't know how you can change that. It's the same with business. If you're not measuring your data, if you're not looking at how many leads did we make this month, what were the sales, what's the profitability, how much money did we spend over here? If you're not measuring that, if you've got no idea, then you've got no idea how you can grow it. You're not seeing where the opportunities are, where the differences are in your business. So, it's the same in life. You just need to actually intentionally give it focus. What you focus on expands. So I hope that's helped. I think it's a really key part, because ultimately, yes, it's super exciting. We're going to go in and talk about the revenue roadmap now. But for so many years, I just went in and always just talked about the revenue first and missed out this stuff because, perhaps like you, right, have been before you listen to this episode, I was like, no, that's not the thing, but it really is the thing. And I really encourage you to do that first before you start listening to me talk to you about your revenue plan. On that note, the revenue plan. So I call this the Sassy CEO Revenue Roadmap, and it's actually based on a template that I created and I often use with clients when we're onboarding them, when we're getting clear on where they're wanting to go. I've decided to create it as a template, as a free gift for you. So, if you head over to sassyceo.com.au/gift, you'll be able to grab that. I'll get my team to get that ready. So that's a New Year gift from me to you, so that you can, download this PDF and actually have a look at it visually. I'm very visual, so that way you can be looking at it visually as I go through how to use this. It seems really simple, but you get so much from doing this activity. And there's so many ahas that I'm hoping that you're going to get that will really help you focus on the right stuff and change up the stuff that is not working for you, so that you can actually start to grow the way that you want to grow this year. So the revenue roadmap template basically goes through wanting to have a few numbers, and some of the numbers you'll plug in, and then some of the numbers, based on the numbers you've plugged in, you will extrapolate. So I am using this template, and I'm going to base it on a business that, say, wants to do $250,000 in an annum. Like, that might not be what you want to make. Maybe you want to make 10 times that. Maybe you want to make 5 times that. Maybe you want to make less than that. If this is not the point of the exercise, please don't let your mind start to discount yourself. I see so many women, the moment the numbers start to get spoken about, it's like their money mindset just kicks in, their bullshit stories kick in, and they start to almost go, oh no, this is not for me. I don't understand numbers, or I don't want to make that much, or that's not enough for me. I'm way better than that. And before you know it, you've lost the essence of the point of this exercise. So I'm just using that as an example. You will obviously plug in your own numbers when you download the Sassy CEO Revenue Roadmap. So if your revenue for this example was $250,000, what I then do is I always ask, okay, well, what then needs to be our monthly average? And I do that over a 10-month period. And the reason why I do that is, let's face it, most of us want to take a holiday, right? Most of us don't always want to have to be churning 12 months a year. Now, your business might still churn depending on your market, depending on the type of offer you have and the way things roll, like how you service your clients. All these different factors come in. There are no cookie cutters at Sassy CEO, but imagine if you're hitting your targets in 10 months and then you've still got an extra 2 months, you're just actually overachieving. And we love overachieving at the Sassy CEO. So I just like to do it on a 10-month year. So in this case, if it was a $250,000 per annum goal, we would be looking at $25,000 per month goal for this business. Now, the next thing that I like to find out from a business is what I call the average unit price is, and that is, what is the common, the main offer that you have, and what is that worth? And this is a sticking point for most businesses. I'm going to, in this year, going to be doing more podcasts on this sticking point, because this is one of the key things that you need to get right. If you are someone who is running a client-facing business, if you're consulting, coaching, providing services, you deal with clients and you sort of don't have that sort of average, this is the unit price of, say, a front-end offer, or you kind of a little bit all over the place. That's why the numbers are a little bit all over the place. Okay. Money loves structure and order. And one of the best things that you could do for yourself is actually start to think about what is that fundamental offer? What is the average value of that? And so in this instance, I've chosen that, this business, this example business, say, has a unit price of 5,800. Okay. So based on that, when you look at, okay, well, the monthly average needs to be 25,000, that's the target, and we've got an average unit price of 5,800, that basically means that over the course of 2020, we would need to have 44 clients go through on that particular offer, approximately 44, which means over a 10-month period, it would need to be about 4.5 or 4.4. So I always round it up. Let's just overachieve. Let's just say five clients per month going through on that particular offer. And then, I like to look at your sales conversion. So if we base this on a 50% conversion, and again, this really depends on the sales process that you have and the marketing that you've got going on, which is part of what you should be focusing on. Like, this is the hub of your business. Based on, say, a 50% conversion, that's going to be different for everyone depending on, again, your market, what you're offering, how you're actually getting people to buy from you. But I am basing this on a sales conversation, a beautiful heart-based sales conversation, which is what I teach, and at a 50% conversion, because people are in a good place when they're actually chatting to you. They know a lot about you. It's a really beautiful interaction, the way that I teach that. Let's just say that on a 50% conversion, which has actually been really, I'm sort of like downplaying that a little bit. I mean, I've just got figures through from some of my latest clients who've never really done sales before, but by using the actual sales system, they're converting at, I think it was one of the clients said it was like 4 out of 5 conversations at the moment. People are signing up or joining or taking up the offer. And so let's just say, though, on a 50% conversion, if you needed 5 clients a month, obviously you're going to have to speak to about 10 people a month, which is doable. It's doable. And doing those numbers and focusing on what needs to happen in order to achieve those things will give that business a $250,000 per annum revenue stream. Now, obviously, there is way more to this. Like, we're not talking profitability here. We're talking just revenue. We haven't even gone into, then how is that serviced? What is the offer? What's happening? That's, some of the really juicy, in-depth stuff that can start to happen once you've developed that. But I think as a very beginning steps, if you are not someone who's really clear on this stuff, understanding those targets, so the revenue, the monthly average, the average unit price, then the number of clients needed over the year, and then per month, plus your basic sales conversions, thus how many sales interactions you need to have. Those numbers are going to give you so much juicy juice. Like, in the Sassy CEO land, it's just like sassy as fuck. Like, those numbers are the beginning, the pinnacles of you beginning to then really think about, well, what are the intentional priorities of this business, so that we can start to generate and hit those targets. Because remember, what you focus on expands. So, that's the beginnings of your Sassy CEO Revenue Roadmap. Now, some things to take into account with this. The really great thing is, again, like this is giving you such clarity. If you're someone who doesn't know exactly what you're offering, or you go, oh, PB, I couldn't possibly tell you what the unit price is because, we charge by the hour. It depends how long it takes us to deliver the service, or depends on what the person wants. I just create based on what the person's asking me for. Houston, we have a problem, okay? Because that is not setting you up with the foundations for a scalable business. So we need to be looking at that. So being able to do this and having clarity on that begins to give you, again, everything that you need to start actually working on. So understanding who you serve, who your marketplace is, what your unique selling point is, and then having, like I said, that initial offer that adds value for your customer, that is a win-win for everyone, is the beginnings of you being able to really start to implement and execute on your revenue roadmap. Don't fall into the trap, okay? So a lot of people will do these, and then it's almost instantaneously, I can almost go 3, 2, 1, and now someone's telling me they need a new website and they've got to get their branding shots done, and maybe they need some new funnel and they could go and do this. Like, please don't get caught up in that. Once you know these numbers, you can hit these numbers without any of those fancy things. You don't need fancy websites. You don't need fancy funnels. You don't need to go and build a webinar or any of these things. You just need to start being really clear on who it is you're serving, how you solve a problem, like what is the unique proposition, what is the uniqueness of your business and that problem that you solve, who are you speaking to, and then actually learning to sell. It's just such an important skill. And again, I want to speak more about this over the coming months in the podcast. It's something that I've resisted for a long time, and I've done so many sales trainings. I've trained sales teams. My background's in sales. You'd probably think, PB, isn't it obvious that you should talk about this a little bit more? I love really instilling that skill set for women, because when you learn to sell, selling is serving. And I cannot emphasize that enough. Like, once you've got these numbers, I guarantee any numbers that got put in front of me, we could work a way out if you were willing to get on the phone or speak to people and actually really genuinely connect and understand your customer and what they need. You would have the beginnings of the foundations of being able to hit those numbers. So please don't fall into the trap of thinking that you need all these other things now to start hitting the numbers. You don't. I guarantee you've got all the resources that you need right now. You just need clarity on what your numbers are. And then you need to start actually connecting with your customers and serving from a place of making sales. So, when you have this in place and you have this offer and you have you dialed in, how much that offer needs to be sold for, and you've dialed in your confidence to be able to speak to people and help them make decisions so that they, can work out whether this is the right thing for them or not. When you've eliminated having to invoice, when you've eliminated having to charge by the hour, when you've eliminated chasing people and hoping that someone might get back to you, when you've got all those things in line, like, you're really setting yourself up for the foundations and the ability to scale the business. Everyone talks about that sexy word right now, scale, scale, scale. Like, my take on this is learn to sell with soul to scale the business. And so, get clear on these numbers, begin to lay the foundations by going through this roadmap, and then understand by just taking on those key skills for yourself, you can really make a difference to your ability to hit those targets with ease. It really is that simple. So I really am now feeling very passionate about this. I'm going to get my team now to put together this Sassy CEO Revenue Roadmap so that you can visually see the roadmap and have a look at the template and use the template in your business as an addition to the other things that you've been doing in these planning series. I'm going to leave you with that now. Remember, if you've got questions, if you want to connect with us, the best way to do that is to jump into the Sassy CEO Society Facebook group. It's a beautiful community of like-minded women in business. And, I'm always in there. If you've got questions, I would love to meet you and see you in there and help you out with setting up your roadmap and your revenue and setting you up the best 2020 and beyond. So please make sure that you head over to that group. But for now, I'm going to leave you with that template and with that opportunity to really start setting your targets. What you focus on expands when you see it, when you are looking at it every day, when you're turning up, whilst also giving yourself the space to be the best version of you. You put all those magic jigsaw pieces together and just watch how your year will change. Watch the magic unfold. Wishing you all the very best. I'm going to be back again next week with more goodness to just add on to prepping you to have the best year ever. Thanks so much for listening. For now, peace. I'll catch you soon.